Big storm will likely organize in the western Gulf of Mexico, tracking across the Gulf Coast states. And if this scenario unfolds, we could see a bout with winter weather in here late Friday night on through Saturday.
This storm, as it roars inland, will produce winds maybe gusting as high as 50 miles per hour. The central pressure, the main energy part of this storm, is just explosive. In fact, this will be probably the worst winter storm on record in this country.
From Channel 6, your 24-hour news source, a special report the storm we'll never forget.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us for a look back at the blizzard of '93. I'm Scott Richards.
And I'm Janet Hall. Tonight we'll introduce you to some of the victims and heroes of the storm, and we'll look at just how prepared our emergency agencies were. This time 2 weeks ago, the snow was already piling up.
And it piled up fast, too. In just a matter of hours, this is what we had. Beautiful. But when those southern pines snapped, they came down on power lines. Now, 4 days before the blizzard, Channel 6 meteorologist James Spann predicted snow would blanket the Birmingham area. James, I remember how amazed you were looking at your maps and computer models and what you were seeing.
Scott, 4 days before the storm hit, our eyes popped out the minute we saw those first computer projections. It forecast a storm of hurricane intensity moving through South Alabama and South Georgia. That's a perfect position to create near blizzard conditions in Birmingham. All of the conditions we saw combined to form what meteorologists all agree is the storm of the century.
Friday morning, March 12th, we see the first glimpse of what's about to come. The flurry sparks people to grocery stores to stock up on food, but even some folks there don't believe the predictions. Friday afternoon, the snow is back. At first, it seems so peaceful. Early that evening, the scenes look more like a Christmas card or a ski resort. But we soon know this isn't just a winter storm, it's a blizzard.
Oh, there he goes. Okay, now start going forward one time. Come back, man.
This storm quickly paralyzes 18-wheelers and makes our highways seem like Siberia, not the South.
I spent 2 years in Alaska and a year in Maine. It's similar to it. In Birmingham? Never. I've been here for 40 years, never seen it like this.
The storm forces hundreds of people driving south to head to local motels to seek any kind of shelter they can find.
There's people laying on the couches, laying on the floors. They're not letting anybody in. They don't have any room.
We begin to see the first signs of a problem that grows enormous by morning. Power outages in conditions that make it nearly impossible for crews to do repair work. As the night turns to day, the snow continues, and we begin to see the full magnitude of this storm. As night returns, another problem. Temperatures drop well below freezing, icing over snow-covered roads. Finally, Sunday arrives. The snow has stopped and the freezing temperatures leave for the day. Now the digging out and the rebuilding begins, and the realization that an unprecedented storm has hit us.
This is the first time, I believe, that all 67 Alabama counties were under snow cover at the same time, combined with the fact that the snow was so heavy and wet, along with all of that wind and such extensive snow cover. Certainly, I would say the storm of the century.
J.B. Elliott is a retired meteorologist with the Weather Service in Birmingham. He's been forecasting weather here for many years, and he makes one other good point. Even though this was a tremendous snowfall, it wasn't followed by a long blast of bitter cold temperatures. That prevented us from seeing the major problem of frozen and burst pipes that we saw back in the 1982 ice storm.
And thank goodness we were lucky in that way, no question about it. But still, every single one of us was affected by that storm, and Brenda Ledun has that story when we come back.
As we take a quick break, a look at the snowfall records from the storm we'll never forget. And remember, that snow fell in less than 24 hours.
As you know, Winter Storm 93 dumped record amounts of snow, not only in Birmingham, but all across the state. I suspect most of us, though, will remember the storm not only for its record snow, but also for how it changed our lifestyles, at least for several days.
Yet for some, the impact of the storm will stay with them for the rest of their lives. Brenda Ledun has the story of the victims hit hardest by the storm. Brenda?
Janet, the simple fact is that we can all count ourselves victims of the storm we'll never forget. The lucky ones only suffered from the inconvenience of not being able to get around on snow-covered roads. Hundreds of thousands more had to survive without electricity or phone service, or in some cases both. But for some others, the loss is much greater, a loss that will take some time to deal with. We see the first storm victims early Saturday morning when the heavy snow forces hundreds of people to abandon their cars. But we soon realized many others have suffered property damage. An early example, the snow collapses the roof of the Jim Skinner Ford showroom. The storm snaps trees, bringing down power lines and leaving thousands of people without electricity and, in many cases, heat. By daylight, the number of power outages jumps by the minute, forcing families to pick up and move just to find warmth.
Yeah, it's freezing. We can't have a fire or anything, so we're kind of worried about the babies. They're already cold and it's not even.
For thousands, the loss of electricity is problem enough. As power crews work outside, families like this one wrap themselves in blankets inside.
Oh, I've just got everything I own on. And a hat, that's the main thing, is the hat.
It's like going to war. It's been an experience. You don't want to do it twice, but it's fun. It's adventure to go through.
At the storm's height, fire departments respond to a number of calls. Many of those fires start simply as a result of people trying to stay warm. Saturday morning, a major blaze breaks out at a Homewood shopping center. Our cameras capture the thick smoke which blends with the snowy white sky and the more than 1 foot of snow on the ground. One business wiped out is the Comedy Club.
It's just horrible. It's devastating. There's nothing left.
The blaze, difficult enough to fight in normal conditions, becomes impossible to deal with in this blizzard. Just a few hours later, Bob and Betty Miner lose almost everything they own. That Saturday night, the Miners sit in their Homewood house, and like most of us, they're just trying to stay warm. But that night, a fire breaks out.
The fire started back, you see that divider, concrete block wall there? Mm-hmm. The fire started on the other side of that in a space heater.
It just happened so fast I couldn't think, and then once I came out, I was afraid to go back in because of the smoke. The smoke was devastating.
After the Homewood Fire Department got the call, they responded immediately, but they had trouble that night. They got stuck on the curve behind me. They couldn't make it up the hill because of all the snow that night. And by the time they did get a rescue truck up to the top of the hill to the Miners' home, it was completely destroyed. The Miners lost all of their belongings from 19 years of marriage. More tragically, they also lost 3 family cats.
Our loss is mostly material things. You know, a lot of people had a lot greater loss than we did.
Except for our cats.
Yeah, except for our cats.
Now, authorities blame the storm for at least 18 deaths in Alabama. Plus, Alabamians so far have filed at least $20 million worth of insurance claims as a result of storm damage, and that figure continues to grow. Janet?
Thank you, Brenda. Well, the question now is just how prepared were we for this storm? Were the agencies in charge of responding to this emergency ready for a storm of this magnitude? And what have they learned?
When we come back, I'll take a closer look at those questions. First, a reminder of the massive power outages across the state. These numbers are from Saturday afternoon, 24 hours after the storm hit. And keep in mind, the statewide figure does not include outages for TVA customers in North Alabama or customers of smaller electric co-ops.
The storm we'll never forget. 13 inches of snow. It's certainly the storm of the century and something our generation had never seen in Alabama.
And while emergency personnel certainly have contingency plans for dealing with a big winter storm, they admit those plans do not include handling a foot of snow or more. So following the blizzard of '93, they're taking another look at those plans.
I thought it could be worse. There could be a tree through Grandma's room.
This is the first time Claudia Hickman has gone outside her house since the snowstorm hit. For days, she stayed inside, taking care of a sick mother and a terminally ill grandmother. Both of them rely on oxygen machines, which need electricity to operate.
That's been part of the problem with the power being out. They haven't been able to get in because of lines down, trees down.
But Ms. Hickman's real frustration came in asking for help from a number of agencies to get oxygen to the house.
And when I called 911, I was told that they could not provide oxygen tank to stay out here. They could come and give somebody oxygen, but they would have to leave with it.
Finally, she got help, but not through a government agency. WERC radio broadcast her appeal. Allen Tree Service responded with a generator, and an off-duty fireman brought her oxygen. Today, Claudia Hickman questions whether emergency personnel were ready for the storm.
I don't know where the problem was, and I'm not out to bash anybody. I would like to know where the problem is, and I am certainly trying to find out where the breakdown came and what could have been done differently.
There are a lot of success stories, but there may have been some individual things that fell through the crack, and we're willing to accept that responsibility.
J.C. Davenport of the State Emergency Management Agency helped coordinate local relief efforts. Davenport says the EMA had its plan in place, but didn't count on certain problems.
Emergency management? Yes, it is.
One problem, telephone communications went out between the EMA and National Guard headquarters in Montgomery with no ham radio backup. Another problem, these National Guard Humvees were the only emergency vehicles which could travel on the thick snow and ice-covered roads. Despite these problems, EMA officials seemed pleased with their work.
Given the fact that no one in this area has ever experienced this type of disaster before, I think that we did a tremendous job.
Alabama Power also had its emergency plan in place before the storm. But like EMA, the sheer magnitude of the storm hurt their efforts.
We could not pre-position crews like from Mobile up to the north because we knew Mobile would be hit. We also had problems Saturday not being able to get in assistance from outside the state because everybody was hit.
By the end of the week, power crews had restored service to nearly all of their customers, giving people a chance to reflect on what a week without electricity was like.
We've made it better than a lot of people I know, but it's been rough.
EMA officials say it's not just a matter of the power company and emergency agencies being prepared. They hope everyone will learn about the importance of emergency planning on an individual level.
So everyone shares a certain amount of responsibility, and if we get into finger pointing, there's enough of that to go around.
Claudia Hickman, the woman who was stranded with her sick mother and grandmother, says she thought she prepared as best she could, but adds she'll be better prepared for the next emergency.
I've learned that you're on your own.
Emergency management officials are evaluating their performance during the storm. They stress they will learn from their mistakes.
Well, despite the tragedies and the damage left by the storm, it seemed to bring out the best in people. When we come back, meet the heroes of the storm we'll never forget.
First, as we take a break, a look at the number of people who stayed in National Guard armories during the storm. During the storm we'll never forget, we saw once again that the worst of times really does bring out the best in some people. We saw and heard countless stories of heroes, if you will, neighbors, a lot of them, ordinary people doing some extraordinary things.
Yeah, and if there's one thing we've heard during the past 2 weeks, it's that people really pulled together to get through the storm. Despite all the frustration, there were simple acts of kindness and in some cases extraordinary acts of courage that bridged gaps and turned ordinary people into friends and even heroes.
Magic 96, your station for the best variety. You'll always find the best mix of all your favorite songs. The music that makes you feel good from Magic 96.
You can find David Tinsley here most nights, playing music on Birmingham radio station Magic 96. But the morning of the storm, Magic stopped its music and joined with sister station WERC in opening their phone lines to help storm victims. Soon, David and his partner Mike Wood became heroes to so many of their listeners in a time of need.
What I was calling is that I have a bunch of firewood.
Okay,
if anybody
great.
in the Midfield Green Acres area needs some.
If anybody's got like four-wheel drive vehicles or anything that can get up here, we need them to come help Invest Save You because we're pretty much at a loss.
Yes, we need some firewood.
I've got a four-wheel drive vehicle over here, and I'm willing to help out a lot of these people that I've been listening to on the radio.
To have a voice talking to me and all these other people going, I'm in the same situation, I'm in the same boat, that would have meant a great deal to me had I been sitting there listening.
The folks that helped out the people in need, they were risking their lives a lot of times, getting out on the roads and traveling into some of the areas that were really hardest hit.
There were heroes like this man, John Graham. He drove around with a friend in his four-wheel drive pickup, helping people in need. Or these National Guardsmen, they somehow made a 2-hour drive from Talladega to Birmingham on those icy highways so this man, Andrew Swain, could get the kidney transplant he's been waiting 2 years for.
Well, it took us 2 hours, and there was probably, I would say, 100 tractor trailers on the road, and you can't run up one side. We had to run down one side and cross over to Median and ride a little while and cross back, and we was beginning to wonder if we was going to make it.
But you did?
Oh, yeah, we're here.
The blizzard had another way of bringing out the best in people. A woman living at Ski Lodge 3 Apartments in Birmingham took these pictures with her home video camera. Like many residents, she was stuck inside of her apartment alone.
There they are. They look like they're having fun.
This is the next day when people started going outside. That's when something special happened. People who had lived next to each other started meeting for the first time, having fun, and leaning on each other as neighbors.
It forced us to meet each other, and that's where we felt like we were blessed to meet some real nice guys that they kind of are just like real good friends.
It's just nice to know that there is somebody there that if you do walk by me, you can at least say, well, hi, how are you doing,
And once you got over that initial being shy or afraid of getting close to people you don't know, everybody started talking to each other.
Y'all get calm.
I am so impressed with you guys.
We try.
People helping people. That's what pulled us through our storm of the century, and in the process, brought us all closer together.
It's been an experience, a wonderful one. Restores your faith in humanity, when you see all these people come together, even people from 2 blocks up there that stay here, we're hundreds of miles away. It's just great. So, thanks, Alabama.
Take care.
See ya.
See ya. Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you, Alabama. So long.
Now, they were thanking Alabama because they're from Canada. The Seaborns ended up at the Homewood Armory as they traveled to South Florida from Canada. Sounds like they may come back to visit Alabama one day, doesn't it? One other note about the Talladega man who underwent the kidney transplant. Officials at University Hospital say Andrew Swain is in stable condition and is going to be okay.
Quite a time. The storm we'll never forget. 24 hours of snow that put most of central Alabama into a deep, dark freeze for several days.
But with the power outages, cold homes, slick highways, and trapped travelers, came a spirit of warmth as hundreds of people reached out and gave firewood, transportation, and most of all themselves to people in need.
That's right. We got through it together. Let's hope we don't have to do it again anytime soon. Thanks for joining us. As we leave you tonight, some final sights and sounds of the blizzard of '93.
Oh, man. Oh, get in. No.
Monica, because no woman I know has time for a yeast infection.
For a thicker, greener. Well, this is it. This is the blizzard of '93. Uh-oh. There's my cooking stove. Let's see what I'm cooking. I can't see doodlum squat. Where's my flash at?
It'll still be dark in here. The wind curtains up. Couple. Whatever. Ooh, look at that! Blowing it off the top of the roofs. Nice little blizzard. Man, looks just like Christmas. What I'm worried about, think about this, Nicky. Those trees out there are loaded down with snow and that wind.
Cooking. That's a cook stove made with a
Wind blowing.
olive oil and
Will make them break off.
lemon foil and
You know that?
rags. Huh?
I said those trees out there are loaded down with ice and snow.
Uh-huh.
And today it's supposed to be really, really windy.
How cold is it supposed to be today? 11? Oh, it's supposed to be 32 today.
Somewhere thereabouts.
I ain't going nowhere today. How deep is it? Eight. It's deeper than that in some of these drifts over here. Can't even see the road. Don't even look like there is a road.
What's he doing?
He's measuring. 9 inches? Y'all got any heat? Have y'all heard the weather? Is it supposed to keep snowing? More than 7 inches on the ground. I can see it. He said 7 inches. More than 7 inches on the ground. I can see it right yonder. Look at that trailer right yonder. See that roof, that trailer right yonder on the edge? That's a whole lot deeper than 7 inches. You see it?
How do you measure then? You have it's different. It's different.
You don't measure with a stick like that. You measure with a collector. I am. What a mess. Y'all freezing? Are y'all freezing?
Yeah, that's bad.
You ain't got no heat either, do you?
Not sure it's in either. Better than nothing, not a whole lot.
Yeah. I have never seen it like this. Back in '69 when I was a kid, it snowed, but nothing like this. I thought that was the snow. They're talking about the power being off for days. We got a little color TV in there. We was watching it. Said for days. All roads are closed.
Yeah, we got house on go, mother's house. Give about going anywhere.
Said every road in the state of Alabama is closed. Mike Royer said we might get a little bit more snow, but it's supposed to end. They're scraping the road down, with a road scraper. I see them.
Trying to get out.
Now they got one of them, them road scrapers?
Yeah.
Somebody's scraping it. God, look at that snow up there. That's about a foot deep.
At least a foot.
What I'm worried about is tonight. They're talking about 10 degrees. High today is only supposed to be in the upper 20s.
Y'all have any fire?
Mm-mm. We ain't got no heat. We're all right, though. We're just snuggling together. I was worried about the car freezing up.
Yeah, dude. I come out here and want to crank the truck, so you're going to come back and crank the boat again.
Them tree limbs there ain't stopped falling.
Yeah, we got woke up from one of them.
Build a snowman after a while, but I don't believe kids are going to get out in this. God. Lord. Ankle deep. All the way up to my knee. I'm all right now. I feel like I'm moving around. I just wanted to look around. Oh, Toady. Y'all okay, chicks? Oh, Lord. Freezing to death. Ooh. Oh, Lord. Get in the house. Goodness gracious. Freezing. It's up to your ankles.
Yeah.
God. What is that in that bowl?
Snow.
There ain't no snow on the ground, is there?
There is snow on the ground.
Let's go look at it. She said her camera ain't even got no film in it.
Who?
What's her name, the next door neighbor?
Who's
Whatever her name is.
I don't know who you talking about.
The woman lives right next to us.
Gail?
Yeah, that's her name. Golly, look at them icicles. Golly. Sheesh.
If it wasn't for this stupid not having no heat, it went out and saved him, though. That short span, short time, but we ain't got no way to heat back up. Don't. You must be crazy, even thinking it. All other people's going out and got, at least they got something they can heat up.
They're not staying out long because of the wind.
Well, that's what I'm saying. out for a little bit, come in and heat and warm up, but there ain't no work for us to warm up. Lisa's over here freezing right now.
Eating ice cream.
No, I'm showing you an example.
You're not sticking your hands in the ice cream.
It's actually warmed up in here. There ain't no steam coming out of my mouth.
You got a thermometer?
I know, but there ain't no steam coming out of my mouth now.
Don't either. There's none out of mine either. There was this morning.
What does that
when I was
mean?
in bed.
Means it's warmed up.
Means we've got cooled down.
Think we're freezing. Did
Well,
y'all hear about the woman who died on account of that wind out there today? She died on account of going out in the snow and just getting exposed to the wind. That's awful, don't y'all think? Snow. Put that in the freeze or keep everything cold.
Sunday.
This young